Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen show where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 169, Game Testers Needed, recorded on Friday, October 22nd, 2021 from Zenata Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
And a big show we have today. We'll start off with some announcements. We just finished with a webinar this Tuesday. We'll talk about that. Our new webinar now is scheduled for Tuesday, November 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You know, we may need to change that now that I think about it. I think Zoholics is going off at exactly the same time, isn't it?
I don't want to make people choose that one there.
I don't
know if we win on that one, Brett.
I think we probably lose. Let me just do some verification here. Yes, Zoholics is at the same time. So we'll probably make that at, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Anyway, we'll change that. And we can't really do it on Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll see. All right. Well, we got that coming up. And then Tyler, the second annual Zenmys, they're coming up. You can vote for your favorite Zoho applications at zenata.com/Zenmys. If you are watching us record this show live right now, that link is not up yet, but it will be up by the time this show drops on Monday. And as always, head over to zenata.com/events for all of the latest and greatest events that are going on in the world.
It seems like the new one to pop up was a whole bunch of user groups for campaigns. Yep. So we've got them for Portland, Phoenix, all over the place. And they're basically just throughout the day on Tuesday, October 26th. That'd be tomorrow if you're listening to this on the day that it comes out.
Yeah, I always find that kind of interesting that you think, I know that they're a user group and there are different areas, but it appears it's the same presentation being done in each one, right? I guess there are some slightly different. No, the times are different.
Slightly different. Yeah, just
depends. Yeah. And then there's also one for SalesIQ about the codeless bot platform, which you've been raving about lately.
Mostly, yeah. It's definitely better than using the code, which was just brutal before. So it makes it a lot easier. It does have a couple little hiccups, but once you know them, you're pretty much good to go.
Fantastic. Yeah. And we are moving to a brand new events page probably in the next week or so. So I think that'll be pretty good. All right. And with that, Tyler, let us get right on into the news. And man, I don't know, we've got 6 pages of news today. A lot going on in the world of Zoho. We'll start with their big announcement, which was announcing the Zoho 121, their all new unified operating system. So this has been out in beta for a while. We've had it for a while. They're saying there's a lot of enhancements to this. I think there were a lot of things in beta that we've seen for a while. The analytics pre-built dashboards have been there, right? The conversion, data prep's been around. I don't think it was in Zoho 1 before. Maybe they've now adding it in. So they've got a whole bunch of new stuff. Commerce being added is a big one because Zoho Commerce was not in Zoho 1 at all. So I think that's pretty big. Learn has been added, Len has been added, Team Inbox and Payroll. They've all been part of Zoho 1. Now, so I'm not sure, but it's new. But maybe they added them this year, right? So that's what they're talking about. But the big news around all of this is this kind of unified interface. And we've got a lot of thoughts about it. And it seems, it seems to me to be a, kind of a love-hate relationship depending on who's using it. If you're familiar with CRM Plus, this basically allows you to go ahead and pin these jewels here on the side. So let me see if I open this image here in a new tab, make this thing a little bigger for everybody. Basically, this is allowing you'll see on the side, if you're watching us on YouTube, basically running down the left-hand side, you can pin your favorite apps. And you can just quickly go back and forth between your apps using this interface. So rather than having tabs open across the top of your browser, you basically have these little jewels organized here. I don't know. Some people I have talked to absolutely love this. They think it's great. I think a lot of people, though, who are users just have their browser open and they pin their top 6 tabs up there, and they're just kind of switching back and forth natively that way. It does give you a dashboard. I looked at the dashboard extensively. relatively useless, honestly. There's just nothing, the widgets that they have there. There's,
Yeah, and I'll highlight right now. I know they had mentioned to us with these dashboards, basically the idea is, pull in various widgets from different applications. So here we see we've got a dashboard that has some inventory, books, subscriptions, campaigns, all these different kind of widgets. Right. Those are nice to have. I think the big missing piece, and I know they're working on it, is making those customizable, because right now you kind of just get to pick from their predefined list, which may cover a lot of what you need. It's got things like new click messages and CRM tasks and, some of these things that are definitely nice. I think what puts it over the top is once we're able to do a little more, maybe embed a custom widget or pull in our own custom views from various applications.
I totally agree. But as it is right now, it is useless. I mean, there is just no benefit to this really whatsoever, because what you want is, like you said, in the CRM, you have these custom dashboards, you have some dashboard elements in books, you've got all these things you can create, and you want to pull those sections in. So you've got to consolidate, campaigns, recent campaigns, that's what you get to choose from, right? How about a widget on the metrics of your most recent campaign, right? It would show you what the metrics are. There's just a lot here that's, I think, kind of, I guess it looks pretty, but I don't see much to it. Look, I don't want to be down on this. It's a big update. These guys spent a lot of time, putting all this together and going through it, and they've been working through it. And there are some interesting things in here. I just, we talked about this later. I'm going to say it again. Zoho needs to go find game testers and have their game tester and have those people just go at these applications. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Using it this week, and I'm in Zoho Books, and they're clearly nobody actually even bothered trying out how Zoho Books looks or works inside the interface. Reconciling a transaction, needed to add a new account, go to add a new account, and the entire page is unscrollable. So the bottom of the add a new account form was off the screen, and the only way to get to it was to go command minus and shrink the whole thing down so that I could save it. Yeah. And it was kind of like, okay, guys, that's just, I guess, a little thing. If you're in Connect, you keep leaving. If the idea is to keep you in this interface, if you're in Connect and you go to join another Connect group, boom, it opens a new tab. Zoho Social randomly just opens a new tab. So it's kind of like, well, I guess we'll have some of the things over here and some of the things over here. And the reason I bring this up is we saw this, a year ago? Mm-hmm. And this has been in beta testing for a year. And you would think that, there's just a lot of things they missed. Now, a ton of great new features added into here, a ton of great administrative features and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So there are a bunch of great things here. I guess the bright side of this is you can do whatever. You don't have to use it. That's the great thing, right? I mean, you can, if you go to the apps directly. So if you go to crm.zoho.com, you go to campaigns.zoho.com, you can open them in their own tabs. They won't be in this unified interface. You can just kind of have them open separately on your page. And then you can still, if you go to one.zoho.com, you will see the unified interface, and you'll get all of the advanced things that, they've thrown in. So I don't know, but it just seems that, man, they need people to bang these apps up pretty hard before they release them to the wild.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, that, you get a video game tester and they're going to find every corner of every room and jump at it 1,000 times to see if they can glitch out of the room. Right. And it sometimes needs a little bit more of that, how can we hammer on this and behave kind of weirdly inside of here to see where some of those rough edges might be. I think all in all, though, at least from my side, I think it's a step in the right direction. I think that, being able to launch into those applications, sometimes I have the bias of I sit and I stare at Zoho all day, every day. And so for me to get into analytics, I pull up a new tab, I hit A and I hit enter, and my commands just know what to do. Right. And that's that.
Right.
But I think for people, if you're not in that mode where you're always in here, right, and you just want to go ahead and, open it up, have one bookmark at one.zoho.com. You can launch all your apps from there. You've got some of those basic top level reports. I think it's a step in the right direction. I think in a year,
let me give
it's
you,
be great.
let me give you another example of lack of testing. So there are two apps that people that are into the world of Zoho probably use a lot. One for certain is Click. If you use Click in the interface, you get no notifications in the browser tab. There's none. So you have no idea if there are new messages in Click.
That's a little brutal.
Let's take that one out. Email, same thing. So it's kind of like, come on, guys. It's just, anyway, they're going to have to do some stuff here. But yes, this will be great. They'll work through the kinks. I know that people listen to our show. We love you, Zoho. Love Zoho 1. I know the new interface is going to be good, but you got to fix. You got
to hit it with the hammer a couple more times before you send it out. Make sure that some of those usability things are shaped up.
Yeah, you need to take your remote control. You need to go over to the corner of the room and you need to jump into that corner of the room 50 freaking times to see if you can get it to glitch out. That's exactly what it is. Hit it with a hammer. Anyway. All righty. Fantastic. And with that, we will move on. Zoho Learn has officially been released. This kind of caught me by surprise. I already thought this was official. Released.
Yeah, I thought this one was official too. I had good timing. We did just make a whole series of tutorial videos on Zoho Learn. I think it's pretty great. Once you get used to just where everything lives and, what do they mean by a space and an article and a chapter and, all these different kind of terms that they've put together. But once you're in the workflow of building out these manuals and assigning them to different groups, it's pretty solid. Course building is pretty easy too. Got all the things around question banks, so you can kind of mix and match and reuse and be efficient as you're putting these things together. I think as far as like a first launch Zoho app goes, it is rock solid. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some things that maybe it doesn't do that other LMSs might do, but it's pretty airtight coming right out of the gate.
It does. I think so too. And we may need to, I think we're going to have to move Showtime up to the maybe list, by the way. We actually did a webinar with Zoho this week. We're not going to talk about it on the show. The recording's not done yet, but we'll have it all done next week. But all of the stuff we recorded, it was done in Showtime because it was a Zoho webinar. And so they recorded it. We did some other stuff, Tyler. We were trying to, overlay some recordings on top of it to capture stuff. Our stuff failed.
It did not quite work out how we were planning.
Our efforts were an epic failure. But the marketing team got the raw feed from Showtime, and they said the quality is much improved.
Oh, that's great.
Much improved. Yes. So I'm pretty happy about it. And I think of that because I look at Zoho Learn and someone's, people have to understand this is only for people that are in your org, right? That are used, that you can only, this is a learning platform for that. If you want the other LMS, you have to go to Trainer Central, which is the replacement for Showtime, which will stick around for some of us forever, but nobody else can get it going on in the future. If that's confusing, I know. But anyway, it's one of those things where I was looking at Trainer Central and man, we've already seen that. That is a super powerful LMS.
Yeah,
and it's got so much stuff that you can do there, and also a live training platform and all those kind of things as well. It might, I think it would be interesting to take a look at that and see what that would look like, for some webinar purposes. Because we can do Showtime anyway. We have it.
Yeah, I mean, Showtime is great. We've always liked Showtime a lot more than Zoom Webinar, but we've just been using Zoom Webinar purely for the recording quality and the different files that we get out of it. But if Showtime and Trainer Central have kind of worked that out, then honestly, we could be saving couple $1,000 a year on Zoom Webinar.
Yeah, the only thing that Showtime was doing is it gives you just one file, but it does give you the screen by itself, and then the presenters as they're talking. So if three people are sharing their video, all three show up. Right? Yeah, so if you actually stop sharing your video, you disappear from the screen, which is kind of nice. And it does kind of resize them to fit on the side of the screen, but that's okay. With just some magic, you can make all that work and go. So anyway, we'll take a look. And I think if you were using that and then using discrete audio recordings like we do, as backups, that could be pretty cool. I don't know why I'm talking so much. We got 1,000 things to cover on the show today here. But,
Speed it up, Brett. Speed it up. We're
All
losing
right,
listeners by the minute here.
hang on, guys. Hang in there, man. Hang in there. Big news. I love this, Tyler. Integrate multiple telephony providers on a single organization.
Yeah, this is a big one. It might seem not very impactful, but the reality is that as companies get bigger and bigger, it's realistic that different departments are going to have different needs for telephony. Maybe one person just really needs some basic click to call for, sales purposes. But over in Zoho Desk, you need some call routing and a call center and, queuing and all that. And maybe you don't want to pay for every single sales rep to have one of those call center lines. They just need kind of an outbound. And so you might end up with, a Ring Central for these people and Twilio for these people over here. And previously in Zoho One, you could only integrate one telephony service at a time. And they've now updated it so that you can do multiple. And kind of pick, which users or which roles are going to go into these different telephony groups. Pretty massive update for Zoho's telephony backend. I'm sure this one was not easy to pull off for them.
No. And I think, like you were talking about, I mean, they're envisioning it that, hey, you've got somebody in Canada and they've got a telephony system they like up here, and you got someone in the US, and before you could only have one. So now you can do it that way. But I kind of like what you were talking about, right? Which is great. Everybody's on Ring Central, but if you really want to do some cool, SMS stuff, right? Maybe you want to do that through Twilio. And so you can kind of add that in. It would have to be to a specific user, it looks like, but still, I think it'll be interesting to play with this. But yeah, cool stuff, man. All righty. And then moving right along. All right. Zoho has released the Certified Artisans for Canvas program, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so Canvas, for those who might not know about it, it's basically an update they've made to Zoho CRM, where you can, basically build out a mostly fully custom interface to interact with different records. So, pulling in and moving around a related list, putting notes up at the top of the screen, color coding, adding icons, and kind of building out a flow. Pretty great. I mean, it can be a little bit of tinkering to really get it dialed in how you need it. But once you've got it stood up, it's a pretty slick little interface that you can use to build out some custom visuals.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We're evidently not a certified, but I just was going through the site. We are a best case on how to use it all. So
look at that.
Yeah. So I guess did we not turn our certification in yet?
I think we must be falling to the wayside here.
We're slipping, man. We're slipping. So, all right, we'll get our certification in. But that's cool. It's a nice program. I tested out Canvas, I don't know, 3-4 days ago. Scaling issues seem to be mostly resolved.
Yeah, and I know they did the big update when it first launched to beta. You couldn't do any edits while you were in the Canvas view, so you can't do that kind of inline editing. And I know they've updated that since that point. So if that's added and the scaling issues are resolved, I think it's probably pretty much ready for prime time. So if you're a CRM user, take a look. It might help you out.
I think this is important because it's actually not a trivial thing to learn. I mean, it's not hard, but you kind of want someone who's a little bit of an artist or designer to be doing it for you too. So anyway, one of the things about this though is not on mobile. I get asked that a lot. People want this design on mobile. It's not on mobile. But I think if you're looking for something simple that gets you that, just do this integration between Bigin and CRM, right? And use Bigin for your mobile if that's what you want to do. Okay. And then CRM has added new email preferences. We were just reviewing this before the show. I thought they were finally rolling out the email interface that I think I did a tip and trick on about a month ago. And everybody's like, I don't see that yet. But it appears that
this is Brett from the future with your guide on how to set up the email signature. It's 2022.
So I think this is part of, because I'm looking at this, right? And I think this would be, but this is allowing you to basically just not let people choose their own email permissions when they set up their email, and you can actually set their permissions. I thought that was cool. I thought the sharing on here, the hierarchical structure around sharing, was pretty cool as well. Much more granular control over, how emails are presented inside the CRM, who can see them, you know.
Yeah. And I mean,
thoughts?
this is like a common thing that we actually bump into where, you'll have all these different roles of people. And previously with the IMAP sharing, it's either private, no one can see your stuff, it's public, or it's public with an excluded domain. But it didn't really get into a lot of the like record level or user level sharing permissions. And so now you can really get granular and build all of that out so that you could say, hey, if you're in here and your role is manager, then maybe only the CEO role can see a manager's emails and the sales reps can't. But then the sales reps' emails are going to roll up to everybody else. So it's nice just to be able to actually manage that. I think the one last thing, if anyone's listening from Zoho, the one last thing for this, a notification to a user that you could turn on. So maybe it's an on-off switch inside of the email settings that is reminding them to integrate their email. It's the one little thing because it has to be done from within a user's profile, which makes sense. It totally makes sense why an admin can't just do this on behalf of their users. So I get that's not a bridge you can really cross. But I do get the request from customers that kind of have to say, hey, I have to go into this email setting every week and make sure no one's turned it off, or, because people change their password and now the integration's failing, or they turn on 2FA. So if there was just one little thing, maybe it could pop in the left, or it could be a signal, or go into that new announcements tab, just some way to get a little bit of a pestering your users to say, hey, you need to turn this on if an admin has turned on that reminder.
Yep.
And that's not to take away from these updates. These updates are great around the sharing really and management here, but that would just be the little cherry on top for me, because I do get asked about that a lot, is how do we make sure and manage that everyone's got this turned on?
Well, now that they've pushed this out, this sets them up to do a lot of things like standardized signatures.
Yep.
Right. We asked about that a lot, right? Just to be able, I just want to have a standardized signature, it drops in, and everybody's got the same signature in their emails. Didn't we write something internally where we're pushing signatures everywhere?
Well, Josh has a magic page that can generate the HTML for a signature that you can paste everywhere. I don't think we ever built the API for ourselves to send it.
He was going to do it. I just don't think he got around to it. It can be done, I think. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, cool. At least it can to desk.
Nice. All righty. And then Bigin, again, I thought this was here. You can now attach files from cloud services when you're in Bigin. So all that means is Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, Box, Evernote. If you want to, when you're in Bigin, you're in a contact, as like they're shown on the screen here, and you can upload it, or you can attach from the cloud, which is in every other single Zoho application, which just baffled me to no end. So I don't know. You could always get around this, though. I mean, if you're using, any of the add-ons for Mac or for Windows that, basically map your cloud drive to your desktop, right? You could do that. But of course, what you're doing is then you are actually physically uploading the file and taking up space on Zoho. So anyway, attached from the cloud, very nice. Good stuff there, guys.
Why not?
I know. All right. And moving right along, page 10 there's 5 of 10 on the news this week.
Oh, these ones should be quick, so that's good.
Yeah, we're getting down to the nitty gritty here. All right. Zoho Sprints now integrates with analytics. I didn't know that it didn't. I guess I just assumed because projects did, that Sprints did, but here we go.
Awesome. Hopefully it's very similar to the projects integration. I've always really liked the way that they lay out that data, other than a couple little things when you're linking it to the CRM. But if it's very similar, getting all those different tables for tasks, timesheets, point values, all those, definitely nice to have.
And then moving on down the list, in Zoho meeting, attendees will now be redirected to a landing page when they exit the webinar set by the organizer. I love this.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I wish Zoom did that. Does Zoom have a post-webinar redirection and we just don't use it?
I'm not sure. I could see a lot of use cases for that, though, in a webinar, like redirect them to an FAQs page about the topic, redirect them to a sign-up page. Like there's a lot of use case for that to try to get some extra engagement following a webinar. Yeah. That's very
cool stuff. Yeah. Sign up for our newsletter. Don't miss this, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. All righty. And then ZeptoMail, formerly Transmail, formerly something else. I can't quite remember. Now has a plugin for WordPress. Man, I like this too. This is a real use case for ZeptoMail for I think a lot of people. I think there's what's the big one? I mean, there's several plugins that you can get for WordPress to handle your email.
Yeah, the big one for transactional mails like this is going to be SendGrid.
Yes,
they've always been kind of a market leader for sending these non-marketing, transaction-related emails.
Yeah. So now ZeptoMail's got a WordPress plugin. That's cool. I'd like to check it out.
It looks like some examples there, things like, web form confirmation, a password reset for your WordPress login, order confirmations, things like that are kind of approved for this type of mail platform.
Very cool. And I think this will come in handy. We actually have some new and interesting things coming to our website soon. I guess we'll talk about them in a couple of weeks and start prepping that. And this will be helpful for that, I think. If you start thinking about how that's going to build out. So Pretty cool. All righty. And then, next page. Man, I got to keep up, dude. All right. Zoho Finance Plus now includes payroll for India. There you go. So payroll has been added into Zoho Finance Plus. Payroll is, I think it has the ability to be a very good application. It's just so early. And in the United States, it covers so few states. I think
like 3 or 4 now, maybe a couple more.
Yeah, I think we were talking to the finance team the other day, and there are 3 that are out there, and I think there are 7 in beta, right? Yeah. But even so, there's a whole lot there. But India, they pay thousands and thousands of employees. They've had a lot of time to perfect this. So I would imagine if you're a company in India, this will work very well for you. And Zoho Recruit is requesting that you update your browsers. Because starting on November 20th, older versions will not work. So you need to make sure your Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, and Edge are all at the very, very latest versions, or at least up to the versions that are listed on this article, which you will see in the show notes and the newsletter. So more of a public service announcement there. Yeah. All right. Seems like a couple times a year, old Mobilisten comes up, or isn't that? It's Mobilstein, isn't it? I think that I's in the wrong place.
Who knows? No, I think that is actually how it's spelled. That's the thing that makes it even more confusing.
Well, it's spelled 2 different ways on our slide here. We got an extra I over here. We've got no I here.
It can only be one correct answer.
We're going to look at the article and we're going to see what it is. It's 2 I's.
Which is more confusing. Yep.
Mobilisten. Anyway, this is, you can now add it into your mobile app using Flutter. I have no idea what they're talking about here. Help me.
Yeah, this is like their SDK. So, if you had an app deployment and you wanted to surface like the SalesIQ chat within your app, right, as something that someone can activate on their phone and chat for support or chat for this, that, and the other, you can use that mobile SDK to build it in. Flutter, I'm not familiar with.
Well, let me tell you about Flutter. It's an open source UI software development kit created by Google that provides a better developer experience to create cross-platform application for Android, iOS, Linux, Mac, and Windows from a single code base.
Wow.
Who knew? And Flutter has been growing rapidly for the past few years. It would have grown faster, but every now and then it just stops and flutters. And
Very nice.
Then it goes, yeah, you like that? Working hard today, man. All right. And I believe that does not wrap up the news. We've got more.
Okay, a couple more stragglers.
Yeah. Zoho Desk Android app supports file encryption within the app. Good. Excellent. On Zoho Desk. And in Zoho Mail, the forward and replied email indicator is now supported for the latest version of Zoho Mail iOS app.
That seems pretty important. So that's nice to have.
That is important. Zoho Mail team, if you're listening, I've attempted this several times this week, and I've got an open ticket. your IMAP integration is irreparably broken. It works for, I don't know, a few hours, then doesn't get emails again. And you got to go reset it. And you got to do it. So you need to work on that. So since
got a couple applications, Bookings has similar problems integrating with Google. I think Zoho needs to poach some high-level Google API person and put them to work on a couple of these products, because it seems like I've had people use that IMAP here with 365 and they have way less problems. But we've tried it a couple times with Gmail and it has just been painful.
Yeah. I mean, I went in this morning, I completely did a full reset of it. I got a new application specific password. I popped it in. There's a couple wonky things about it. When you actually go to add the IMAP account, you're basically just for its incoming. The SMTP part is in a whole nother section, like in a whole nother settings box somewhere else to set up the SMTP. So you get that set up, a little bit of a delay, boom, it works. All the folders are coming in, all the mail comes in, everything's great. And then at 8:36 this morning, it just decided not to get any more mail. And there is no refresh. And it just kind of happens, over and over again. I don't know. And it's a bummer because, we go back and forth with this. Our team, Zenata, is firmly split to a Gmail camp and a mail camp. I'm in the mail camp. I love it more and more every time I use it because I use it for a bunch of other apps. I'd like to move us all to mail, but I don't want a mutiny. And I thought this was going to be the best of both worlds. So I don't know. We will see. So, all right, guys, pay attention. Alrighty. And then moving right along, we've got the Zoho marketplace for the Europe region. I'm wondering, this is interesting. I think they're going to start splitting up the marketplaces, which I think is a great idea, right? You should see the apps.
Certain apps just work differently, especially when you get into telephony. It's not the same if you're in different regions.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm guessing this is a thing that, there's some apps that will just appear in the marketplace for whatever data center you're associated with. Yeah.
I would think so. Yeah.
I hope so. Hey, and then this is for you, Tyler. Zoho Analytics, October 18th, new features rolled out. So analytics updates. What anything jump out at you here?
Let's see. I mean, a couple little updates here, a few improvements when you're doing file imports, if you are going to move any data in manually. They've improved. This one's kind of big. Their data alerts. They rolled that out a little while back. If you scroll up just a tad, it's this guy here. A data alert might be if you're building a certain report or certain table, maybe if an amount goes above or below a certain value, you want to get some type of ping. It can actually be very useful to do this, even if you just have a report that sits there to give you alerts and you never really look at it, because sometimes calculating these things on the fly via functions in the CRM is just really intensive. They've added more conditions. So now it supports an and condition as well as an or condition. So the example they're giving us here is that, maybe if you have a cost value on something that's greater than 700 and the sales value is less than 1,000, right? And it looks like they actually, in this example, have a duplicate condition there. So conditions 2 and 3 are the same, but you could just build more complicated ways to go ahead and send yourselves notifications on data that's being presented in a particular report. This one here is a pretty big one when it comes to building out SQL.
It's tabular function support in query tables.
Yep. So now you're actually able to run some tabular functions. So things like rank, row number, lead. This is actually one that not long after we brought on Lucas, one of our developers, he was actually griping about a little bit that they didn't support some of these, because it can be really useful if you're creating a lot of different custom tables and you want to just be able to give them a row number or rank them by a certain value. So that's going to make that much easier. Last little one here, a couple last ones here for sorting. So users now have the ability to do their own custom sorts if they are looking at a dashboard, and they've kind of edited the interface for that, which is good. This used to be very bad. So they basically have a way now where you can grab them with the drag icon, or you can use a select and one step up, one step down. This used to not have any of those iconographies. So you're kind of like selecting and making it blue and like doing your best to move it around. So it's just going to make that easier.
And that looks like a whole bunch of new modules were added for Zoho Books.
Mm-hmm. So
Bunch of
things like
useful things.
sales receipt, shipping bill items, landed cost, budgets, user details, which is always good, as well as like SMS notifications and some system mails. So the more the merrier when it comes to reporting. You could always leave them out if you don't care about having that data in there, but definitely nice to be able to pull in even more data elements for your reporting.
Nice. And I want to point out, we did a webinar. I talked about it. Put the link up. It should be hitting the YouTube channel this weekend, I think, or maybe Monday or Tuesday. That on Zoho Books and Zoho Analytics. And we did it for Zoho and for the finance team. Tyler did it. You're basically taught a masterclass in there on setting that stuff up. So anybody who's really interested in that, look for that webinar to come out, and it will really help you get set up if you want to get that integration going. And with that, buddy, we have our implementation of the week.
Yes, this is one that we're kind of excited for, using some new functionality that Zoho rolled out not too long ago here. So it's basically a use case to pre-fill some CRM forms via client-side scripting. So, oftentimes you're going to have a parent record, maybe something like a deal, and you're going to create multiple child records off of it. In this specific use case, we're working with quotes. And oftentimes certain information from the deal, you're also going to want reflected on the quote, right? Maybe you want to pull down the address. You want to pull down when they need it delivered by. You want to pull down what type of shipping option they want, because you're capturing all this stuff throughout the sales process. And then maybe you're going to create them 3 versions of a quote, but a lot of this information is going to be the same. You could always do this using a deluge function. So you could say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create this quote record. I'm going to know in my head that these are all going to pre-fill. But as I'm actually creating it and I see that interface pop up, they're not going to fill in yet. I have to click save and then go back to that page. And now those values will be filled in by the deluge function. Using client-side scripting, which is actually running in your browser, things can pull in on that create page. So that, let's say you have something like an expected shipping date, right? And based on that date, the user is going to pick a shipping price. Well, if that doesn't pull in until they've saved, they have to create the record, save, look at what that date was, because they might not remember. It might have been a week or two since they entered that in, right? And then enter their shipping price. So it's basically just a way to get that data in front of people one step earlier before you've even saved that record. We did another one kind of similar to this for a company that does some personal care where, certain people have like teeth whitening pen numbers assigned to their customer account. And when you create a new treatment record, before you even save it, it's pulled in that pen number so that you know immediately, which one you need to grab. And so these things are not, the client-side scripting, it's not something that's going to change everything, not quite yet. But for a lot of these common workflow things, you're creating a related record. You're always going to want this data to pull in, and you kind of want to see it as you're creating that record. It's really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's great. The only downside I've seen to it is it doesn't work on mobile, right?
Yes, that is a big caveat. This will not work in a mobile app, because basically what it's doing is it's actually running JavaScript in your browser. And that's why it's so fast. It doesn't need to make a ping to Zoho servers. It's actually just grabbing the data basically with like one API call to just get whatever that customer or deal record is. And then it's putting everything else on your side as if a user was entering it, rather than querying it from the database and pulling it forward for you.
But totally doable in the mobile app if they want to. I mean, that would be a totally doable thing for them to add that. I'd want to make the connection. You build a client-side script here. I'm sure there'll have to be a little bit of translation, but they could have the app do that if they chose to do so, because there are a lot of applications for this. I mean, it's just, it's funny how much it's been we've been doing it lately. So
yeah. And I mean, for heavy users, one big advantage of this is that you're likely still going to need to make an API call to get the first batch of data. So like if I create a quote from a deal, I don't have those deal fields on the page. So I do need to make a call to get that, but I don't need to make another API call to update the quote. So if you are kind of a heavy user of functions in the CRM, which most people, I will say, even our clients with heavily automated systems, it's really hard to hit that daily limit in the CRM, but we do have people that get close. If you're creating tons and tons and tons of quotes, or you're running a lot of different big batch scheduled functions, it can matter. And this does cut one API call out of a really common operation, which is kind of pulling that data down from a related record.
All right. And with that, we're going to move on to our read of the week, going back to HubSpot for a monstrous 25-minute read. This is great. 28 case study examples every marketer should see. And basically, they contrast and compare the case studies, what's good about them, what the advantages were, why it should be set up, how it's done. Case studies are so important. They just really help drive business. We've got this goal of trying to put one up a month. I'd almost like to put two up a month at this point in time, just get as many as we can. But really great. This is a good piece. So if you're doing case studies and you look at your website and you go, man, I don't think our case studies are popping enough. Take a look at these. You can go through. There are a lot of examples you can click. I mean, this really would take a while because you'd want to click into each one of these and look at the overall. Yeah. You want to do quite a bit and take a look at it. So a minimum 25-minute read. I probably spent at least 30, 40 minutes kind of going through this when I saw it. I mean, could get lost in this thing for a long, long time. And they give you some case study kit and some templates if you want to give them your first, last name, and email address. HubSpot will share that with you. So, it's just your identity. Don't worry about it. Everybody's so uptight these days. I don't know. All right. And that takes us to what's new on Zenata.com. This week, we have got, whenever we do a webinar, we are also taking that webinar and doing a complete write-up on the webinar. So this week, Tyler, we did the full WorkDrive, full product tutorial. And we're loving WorkDrive. We use it internally for virtually everything. The automations we can do with it are great. And so this is the write-up. If you don't want to watch the video and you just kind of want to get a quick read as to what's going on, you can go through here and it will step you through pretty much everything we cover in the webinar. Of course, you won't get to listen to our lovely voices, and our smiley faces. But anyway, that was a fun one, actually. I enjoyed doing that webinar. There's a lot there.
It is. Yeah. It's a great application. We find ourselves using it more and more for clients as well. Just a lot of what you can do with proposal management by parking these generated proposals there, where you can just send directly out through Sign and save all your edits live and kind of link everything through the CRM. It creates a really, really logical workflow for a sales rep to get a proposal out the door, in most cases.
Yeah, but you know what our marketing team did this weekend, Tyler?
What's that?
Well, I think it was Saturday morning. Freddie went in to do something on the website and Zenata was gone.
Yes.
Gone. Just a minor thing. And so we're like, no problem. We have a backup. So the backup that we had from Jetpack said it was just from yesterday. That was great. So we restored it. And it was June 1st. It was the last backup.
So not quite yesterday. Yeah.
Might not seem like a lot, but for us, where we're putting out, on average 30 pieces of content a month, that's quite a bit of lost stuff that was going on there. Probably more than that, 40, 50, if you think about all the stuff that goes into the site.
The events and everything.
Everything, right. So we're like, So thank goodness our host had a backup that they said was, I want to say they said it was October 10th, but it ended up being October 1st. So we only had to basically recreate 2-3 weeks worth of stuff to get our site up. So what we did is we said, wow, I guess none of our backup solutions were all that great. So, and one of the funny thing is our head of all the web stuff says, oh yeah, we're on UpdraftPlus, but we weren't. All of our clients are, but not us. So the very best backup software for WordPress, according to pretty much everybody out there, is this program called UpdraftPlus. Man, I'll tell you what, now that we've got it set up, it's great. The cool thing is on a lot of these backup programs, our site is currently at 25 gigs and growing, right? There's so much in there. And so on a lot of these sites, they're going to charge you, oh, you need more than this backup, it's going to cost you an extra $50 a month or $100 a month. But this allows you to connect to any third-party system. So we just connect it right into our Google Drive. It doesn't support WorkDrive yet. So I think Zoho would probably need to write that or get with them. But Google Drive, just plugged it right in. It dumps the backups there. It's super customizable and it just works. You can even set it to backup every 4 hours. So, I mean, it's pretty.
And like you're saying, the big thing with this is that UpdraftPlus really just doesn't even care what the size of your website is, right? It might have some upper limits somewhere, but as far as it knows, it's just taking all of it and putting it where you told it to on a regular basis.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And it just zips it up into like, in our case, I think it's just hundreds of zip files, right? It's the different thing. It also does iterative backups throughout the day. So every 4 hours, it's doing an iterative backup. And then once every 24 hours, it does a full backup. You can set how many days you want to keep. A super, super, super nice, really great program. Love it. Love it. Not that expensive either, I have to say. I want to say the pricing on this was relatively cheap. Let me see here. Yeah, so you've got, $195, it looks like. I think we got the business one. Yeah, that's unlimited.
And then $117 a year. Yeah.
Yeah. If you just want, a little business one with 10 sites, $95 now, then $57 a year. So yeah, you've got some options here. If you're a developer, you can go, unlimited. So some good stuff. Anyway, very, very nice, nice program. So I'm glad we found it, glad we got it going. And anyway, easy plugin to install, easy plugin to configure. Maybe a little difficult, but not too difficult at the end of the day. A lot of tutorials on it because it's out there. So thank you very much. Now I don't think we could bear to lose our website. I can't imagine. I mean, a lot of people, they're 5-6 pages of content. We're just thousands of pages. It's crazy because, with our resource libraries, just in the CRM, if you go to resources and you click on CRM, you kind of scroll down, there's hundreds of blogs, there's hundreds of resources, there's hundreds of videos, all linked in. They all have their own page. So it'd be impossible. So now I think we're in good shape. All right. And that brings us to our tip of the week, which is your latest video on Zoho Learn, courses, quizzes, and settings.
Yep. So this one's kind of the actual learning piece here, the testing piece, maybe I should say, inside of Zoho Learn. Basically walk through creating a course, creating a quiz, adding some of those questions, and then what the reports and settings are going to look like around those courses. So it should be kind of the last little one here. Luckily, Zoho Learn, not too crazy of an application to get started with. So this one's pretty straightforward. And I think this is the last in our Zoho Learn series, Brett. So you'll be having to pick your next walkthrough application soon here.
Yeah, it's my turn. It's funny though, actually what we're going to do is there's a whole bunch of stuff that's buried in our webinars, right? One of it is, Kevin's on. So, Kevin is a MVP over on the Zoho community forums, and he got called out in the last newsletter around the translation feature inside of, Zoho CRM. And what that is you have basically system defined fields that you can't rename. Phone, you can't rename phone, but you want to rename phone, right? You want to call it, telephone, just because that's how you roll. Well, the only way to do that is basically to go into this translation, and then, there's a whole bunch of things you do. You basically download a text file that contains every single thing that's inside the CRM, do a quick search, find the word phone, change the name phone, upload the text file back in to replace your language, which is English. What this is really allowing you to do is have multiple languages, but this is a little workaround for that. And there you go. Well, we buried that in one of our webinars we did, Tyler, and no one would ever be able to find it, because if they were searching for how do I change system defined fields in Zoho, right?
It would show up. Yeah.
It's got a bookmark called translations. So I want to break out. There's 34 different chunks that I found. And I said, let's pull these 34 out and at least make them searchable, and, so people can get to them. So we'll probably be dropping a few of those in. But I will have to do something. They've got some ideas. So I'll do another 4 this week. Maybe we'll back them up. So kind of maybe mix some stuff in. But this finishes, of course, this is pretty much all we could do in Zoho Learn.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to it. I was thinking of how I could stretch it to 4 videos like we normally like to do, but I thought, honestly, I didn't want to waste anyone's time. So I kept it short, sweet, and to the point with 3 videos, because I think that'll get you 95% of what you'll need to get started in there. Yep. It's really easy to use.
All righty. And that brings us to our Q&A. Before we get into this, Peter says, how do I back up my site? We did maintain redundant copies of all Zoho sites and will restore in case of any crisis. You can download copies of your website. Going to, yes. We don't use Zoho sites. We're on a massive WordPress site, but yes, you can do that with Zoho sites, and it's pretty nice. But I believe it's a manual process. Can you actually schedule that, Peter, in Zoho sites? You might be able to. I do not know. Anyway, and moving on to our Q&A here. Microvellum software as on our Zoho Learn courses, quizzes, and settings. Is this tool only for organization users? Could this be used for our customer training as well? No, it is only for organizations. We talked about that a little bit earlier.
Yep.
If you want that tool, it's Trainer Central, trainercentral.com, a completely separate brand. It is a Zoho product. I mean, if you scroll down to the bottom, it says, Zoho on it. But Trainer Central, relatively inexpensive, and it is a whole separate thing. So you can do that. We just found out that Microvellum is Jessica. Hey, Jessica. All righty. Yeah. So check out Trainer Central, Jessica. It's not bad at all. And kind of, maybe gets you where you need to go.
Yeah, if you're on the previous license too, if you've still got Showtime, that might, it's not going to quite be an LMS. That would just give you your training component, but not the courses.
Yeah. It's nice. Hey, and Peter's saying that on Zoho sites, they keep redundant copies automatically that they will restore for you. But apparently the download is not a simple restore. Cool. Thank you for that. All right. And moving on with our next question here. Nathan asks, do I have to get another Zoho for my employee? I just love that. And the question is in reference to Zoho People. It was a webinar we did on Zoho People, and he was, yes, you do. That's the one thing with Zoho One. If you have Zoho One, you're going to have to add, and you want to use Zoho People, you basically have to add everybody into it. Yep. So there's no way around it. Now, if you just were a Zoho CRM user, or you were CRM Plus user, and you were just paying for CRM Plus, then you could spin out Zoho People separate and just add everybody into Zoho People if you wanted to do that. And that's kind of a use case for choosing something like CRM Plus, right? And then maybe making that switch, reviewing the apps you're looking at. Because for a lot of companies, it doesn't make sense if they're paying $110 a month. Even, maybe they only got 10% of their workforce, go to the $45 a month for the all employee pricing with Zoho One won't make a lot of economic sense just to move to Zoho People. So yes, you do need to add them all, Nathan. And then pronounce that? Jan Pham?
Probably.
Going to go with that. All right. On our Zoho Recruit 2021 full product tutorial, he asks, I'm checking assessment, that link with job openings. As I understand, we can associate assessments to job opening interviews, but I can't find out the way to add other assessment except for pre-assessment. Know what he's talking about here? Is there only one assessment that can be chosen for pre-assessment? If I want to add more than one assessment, how should I proceed?
Yeah, I think you can only do one assessment that's like on an inbound job opening.
Yeah. If that's what he's asking, you can create as many assessments you want, but you have to associate. You can only associate one at a time with the job opening, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Per opening. Yeah. Just make it a really big assessment. If you're trying to do more, I think that would
scare off some potential candidates.
Yeah. All righty. And what's next? Oh, so we also get all these kind of comments on YouTube. So Wayne decided to throw a bunch of these in. So a bunch of thank you. So we want to thank all you guys. We get a lot of great feedback from you, and it does keep us going. So thank you so much for your kind words. And with that, we are going to wrap this edition of the CRM Zen Show. If you have any questions or comments, please head over to Zenata.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes as well as show notes with links to the stories we discussed today. As always, we'd love if you follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.